Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's a little bit different with our repair. We might restore a little bit, but we're going to do this fella. A little Imperial transistor radio. Going to see what's wrong. I have no idea what's wrong with this little fella, but this is what he looks like. And there he is. Might actually get the light off him a little bit. You might see him actually better. So that's him. A little bit dented in at the front. A little bit of a dip there, but otherwise, that's what we're looking at today. We've got tuning, which seems to move very freely, which is good, and on-off volume seems a little bit loose. Could be the screw on that little fella, and obviously it's probably in under the little aluminium insert there. So we'll probably have to pop him off and tighten the screw underneath there. 7 transistor, well, I'd say 6 transistor plus, using one of the transistors as the detector diode, I would say, but we'll see. It's AM only. Inside, no schematic. Inside, that's what we've got inside him. I'll get this thing to, there we go, get him to focus on that. So that's what we're dealing with inside there. Obviously, a little audio output transformer, all crammed in together. The IF center line here. We got the oscillator up here. Ferrite rod antenna. Yeah, just a standard layout. I would say the caps are shot, but we don't know that. Battery is 1.5 volt, so it's only a 1 AA battery. And by the look of the battery terminal there, we might have our work cut out straight away as to getting this going. So, yeah, could be a little bit of a problem there. Hopefully that hasn't spread. Anyway, we're going to take the insides out and see how we go with this little fella. We'll clean this up, put 1.5 volts on him, and see if we get any action. Right, and now, just looking at this doesn't, they certainly don't pull off. So, going to have to get these fellas, the inserts here, out of the inside, because obviously there's a screw in the center that screws them up both to the tuning gang and there. Now, first of all, we just might see is if this little fella is going to spring into action. You've also got a headphone socket there. I didn't see that. They've crammed a headphone socket into this thing. Driver transformer, audio drive underneath that cap. Now, we don't have to take these off because we've got slots in the case. So let's just take, there's a screw in there. I don't know whether you guys can see that. There's one in there. There's one in here. And let's see what happens if we get those screws out before we actually start him up. I think the aerial rod is actually wax on the aerial rod is actually holding it in there. There we go. That's what we've got to work with. Now, we'll take this fella out. Which leaves us our speaker. Cover it over with a little bit of tape at the back to stop things shorting. Right, so there's our radio. This is our battery terminal that we have to clean up, which shouldn't be too bad. Now I can see in under there, I don't think you guys can see that. There's one screw which is loose, and the other one up here is actually gone. So, although that is still tight. This little fellow, well, I think the screw will probably still have to get that out. Okay. Let's see if this little fella's going to spring into action. Power supply on. Voltage 1.5. We'll set fairly low milliamps on this little fella. I'll set the current at 20 milliamps. Okay. Obviously the spring is negative. Positive. Turn him off to start with. Right. And we have some noise. And a noisy pot, of course. Look at that.
Official New Zealand game. Do you know what date it is? Why would I?
What a great little radio.
You tell me. I like to say.
And a little bloke on there singing. We may not have him for too long.
Yes, the career change in my late 40s from general dog body
We've
on
got
farm.
a lot of interference from
the Australian Health
the camera, the computer, everything.
Hundreds of years, 10 diplomas over 10 years, it was the best decade ever. My advice
And
is Mary. Thank you for that. Let me know.
very dirty pot, but is it connected with
33, we'll talk more about
that being loose? I don't think so. I think it's just dirt. Okay, well, I think the problem with this little radio, we won't go into too much alignment or anything with this little fella, is this. So I think somehow remove that plate and get him cleaned up. So we'll disconnect the speaker so we can get this out of the road. I also need to tidy up. A bit hard to see on the camera, but there's a fair dent in that. So, yeah, I think to get the speaker out, the tabs around the outside of the front, and obviously that holds the speaker surround onto the front. Okay, we'll pause and we'll do a couple of things here and come back. Right. All I've done at the moment, I'll just get these out of the road, is I have disconnected the speaker, unsoldered the wires, and now I'm going to attempt to get the grill out. So we'll bend these little tabs up. Now I can also see down in here a little brass insert that's is almost broken off there. So I think a little bit of super glue just down the side, and that will hold him in place. Incredible these days. Not these days, no. In the old days, how they put brass inserts in a plastic support. You don't see that now. You see a little tiny self-tap screw straight into some junk plastic. And it's probably good for one or two unscrews, and then everything starts going wrong. Right, we'll get this fella up. Hopefully these little tags don't want to break off. Right. That's a little bit too far. Now, how do we push these out? Just like that. Just like that, Baz. Look at that. Here we go. And there's our speaker. Little gasket around the outside. In quite good order. And boy, that'll be easier to work on now. Now you can see the indentation there. And oh wow, it's actually a separate piece. How is that? And yes, you can certainly see how he's been pushed in. But we'll just flatten him out. He's just been pushed in the centre there. So just for the speaker, we have to mount the speaker. Got this. We've got this. We've got a separate grill, the speaker itself, and then a gasket that goes on the back of the speaker to protect it once the front goes on. Isn't that incredible? Back in the day, you certainly don't see things like this made. And of course, I'll clean all this up. As I said, not a huge restoration, but let's make him look nice again. Now, this little fella, I think I'm going to have to unsolder. Yeah, it's not screwed on. I didn't know whether it was actually screwed on or not, but that's soldered. This is soldered. So I'll just get that little wire to our aerial rod out of the road. So there. And it looks like the centre of the tuning gang goes. It looks like he soldered here. But anyway, what we've got to do is get these fellas off. So that's the next trick. Now, my trick here will probably heat them very, very gently because this plastic will it'll melt very easily, I would reckon. So we'll just heat him slightly. And, oh, gee, how am I going to do this? Maybe a razor blade or something in the side. I'm just not sure. Let's try gently heating. Okay, I've got my heat gun on setting 1. It's a variable temperature gun. And we'll gently, ever so gently, just warm these a little bit. Okay, they're warm there. Don't really want to take them any further. Now, what I'm thinking is a razor blade down the side. Gently lift him up. There we go. I've popped his glue. There we go. Right. As you can see, there's a little screw in there. Just a little bit of glue. Let's do the other one. And I dare say this screw on this one will be nearly out. And he's going to be careful with this bit, especially with the razor blade pointing towards me hand there. Be a worry. There, he's off. He didn't go far, but yeah, quite a bit of glue on this side. Yeah, a big blob of glue on one side. Now, there's our little screw. Let's see. Yes. Oh, I don't know. He's not that loose, which may be the pot itself. Okay. Got him off. And the pot itself, to clean him, well, he's got a little cover. You guys probably know all this anyway. Just trying to get him in enough light. I've got a light here, but it wants to be more glary than anything else. Right, pop him off. And there's our pot. He doesn't feel too bad there. No, he's actually, I don't think he's very loose there. No, I think we're right. Okay, we'll take this fellow off. This is the main one that we wanted to get at. Don't see many slotted screws these days either. Right. So, as I was saying, screw missing there, and this screw is almost out. So, we'll take him right out. Not that he has to go very far. And then I'll have to find myself another little screw to go in the other side when we're putting him together. And as you can see, fairly small. Okay, so yes, the tuning gang comes down here, solders on here, so we'll desolder that fellow and this fellow, and that, well, hang on, where did that screw come from? Ah, that's one of the screws that holds it in. We didn't get the second one. So, we've got our trusty soldering iron around the back of the camera here. And we'll gently lift this fellow up. Like so. And then our tuning gang is quite loose. He definitely needs that second screw there. Now, there's a little capacitor lead. Lift him up. This, not sure, I think he just sits there. Sure how that's... There's a blob of solder on this side. Someone's put a fair bit of solder in this. I'll just pause for a moment while I get a little bit more gear. Right, it's a little bit better. Now what I've got here, guys, is just a bit of cardboard because I'm protecting all this. I'm on a bit of foam there, and a little bit of hot solder doesn't go too well on the foam. Okay, we'll suck some solder out of this fella. We seem to have a great big lot of solder here. I'm using solder wick. This is very hard to get to with a puller, and I don't have... Well, I do have a desoldering tool, but we'll just use this for the moment because you might have to do this without a soldering tool. I think these might be riveted on. Not real sure. Surely not. I think he is. I think he's riveted on. Yeah, well, this is a little bit unexpected. I thought he would have been just soldered on. Well, this is a bit of a trick, this is, because I really need to get him off to... Oh, I suppose we could clean that up, but gee, I really want to get him off. I wonder, can we take our tuning gang out of there? So that comes up there, that little capacitor. Gee, imagine tuning this with the alignment. You've got to get down in here somewhere. And I think I'll just bring this fellow up. No other wires broken there. I think I'll just bring him up and leave him soldered there, and we'll clean this up. I don't want to get rid of these rivets. Yeah. I think we'll do that. We'll attempt to clean this fellow up just where he is, and then just put everything back nicely. That's a capacitor. I wonder, can I get a circuit on this? I don't know whether that's a cap or not. I think it is. Yeah, there's only two legs, so yeah, there's nothing written on it. That's handy. And there's lots of those little fellas. Anyway, I don't think we'll have to replace any caps on this. We might investigate the one that goes in line to the wiper of the volume control. But other than that, it sounded quite loud. It sounded very, very sensitive. So we probably won't do much else with him. Okay, so we'll attempt to do something with this and come back soon, which will only be a couple of seconds for you. Okay, we'll give this a little bit of a clean up here with some Brasso. So you can get that nice and clean as it was originally. Okay, that looks pretty good, about the best we can get it there. So I'll take that little bit of solder off there so it makes this fella easier to solder up. Solder these two fellas position him a little bit better than what he is. Now, I found out the transistors in this thing are the little coloured fellas. That fella there, that fella, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Should have 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The little silver fellas are caps, but all those seem to be pretty good. So, yeah. All right, we'll get this little fella mounted back in position and see what our next move is. Right, we've got this fella looking pretty nice. Now for the tricky bit. We'll just bend that fella in a little bit because he's got to hold that fella in. That little capacitor has to go in there. And this fella, if you remember, he goes and solders on the top there. So we've got to try and there, get that little fella popped back in there. And the other thing we've got to do is find another little screw for there. So I might just, I don't want this fella pulling away too much either. I might disappear for a little bit and, well, try and find a screw for that. And once it all screws together, I think it'll hold him fairly solid. And this will push back as well when it goes in the case. So the case should hold this battery terminal and everything in place. All right, we'll go and find one like this. I don't know what I've got in my collection, but surely there's a little transistor radio somewhere that's got one of them. We'll go and do that. Okay, we found a little screw for that fella. And there's the original. It's actually a little bit lower profile than the original. So now this fellow has to be soldered down. The first solder point will be where that capacitor from this side, that little fellow in there, comes out and connects to there. Let's grab my soldering iron. So we'll just take this fellow down here. As you know, we've taken a little bit of solder away from here, so we'll have to put a little bit more in there. Now just push him down a little bit there. If I can keep my hand steady. There we go. Now we've got this fella, and he actually solders down on the track underneath him there. So we might have to just push him down a little bit. He doesn't want to go. We'll do that when we melt our solder. That looks pretty good. He's on a little bit of an angle, but not too bad at the moment. We'll have to straighten him up. Now this little fella here, put a little blob of solder in here. Okay. And push him in a bit like so. Okay, we'll put our little dust cover back on our volume control. And I think what I'll do now is we'll put a power supply on him and make sure everything is running okay before he actually goes back in his case. Now, once he's in his case, I'll do a rough alignment just on 455. Just probably only an audio one. We'll see how this performs anyway. Okay. We'll put a smidgen, just a smidgen of lubricant just in the volume control. I didn't do this before I put it back on because I just wanted it to stay in there. Okay, let's solder the speaker back on, put some power on, and see how he performs. Well, see if we've stuffed anything up and and it doesn't work anymore. That's sort of what I meant. We have power on, 1.5 volts. I'll just make sure. Yes, 1.5. We have power on there. Turn him on. We don't have power. Why don't we have any current draw? We don't have any current draw whatsoever. So what are we missing here? Our on-off switch. Switch to here. We don't have any continuity down here. We've got a current draw there. Nothing here. Okay, let's resolder this little fella. Must be this track. Yeah, we've got something. And look at that. We have a goer. Okay, that's all we need to know. He's a goer. So, That's good. That damn track there. Yeah, looked okay. Anyway, take our speaker off again, because now it's probably a little bit of work on the case. So the next thing, clean this case up a little bit, polish this fella up a little bit, straighten this fella out, and then put the speaker back in the case, and so we can mount him back in, put the knobs on, and Bob's your uncle, as they say. Okay, we'll be back. 2 seconds for you, but about half an hour for me. Cleaned this fella up, and yeah, redone the front of him, cleaned him up and repositioned him in there, so he's good to go. We'll clean this little fellow up. It's only dust and that on it. Everything should be okay, although I can see some tiny fragments of metal in there. I'm going to have to scoop them out. Certainly interfere with the operation. Don't know where they've come from. Obviously come in through the front somehow. Okay. I might have to put this under my magnifying glass and try and get them out. Okay, they actually come out quite easily. He's looking a little bit nicer, and I just used a very small magnetic screwdriver, which was a little bit more magnetic than what that area is on the speaker. Jumped onto the screwdriver and come out. No problem at all. Now, it goes in here, so the most amount of room, there isn't any. Most amount of room going to go for the bottom anyway, and we can turn the speaker once it's in there. Right. Now, hang on a minute, Basil. We need this washer. He sits on that. And then we set this fella down. Like so. Yeah, we can move the speaker. That's looking rather nice. Okay, we'll bend over these little tags. Hopefully we don't have to take these off again. See what I've done? It's upside down. Here's the top. That's the bottom of the battery. Okay. Oh, gee. Was going so well. As you can see, that I don't really edit out the mistakes, because we all learn from mistakes. Now, we'll try that again, eh? Now we're looking pretty. Right. Top. Lines up. Earphone socket. Yes. Bottom. That lines up a little bit better, guys. Yeah. It's a good thing this aluminium was very bendable. back in those days. Now, it had a little bit of tape across those terminals after they were soldered in. Now we'll just, wire's a bit ratty there, we'll just call the blue as positive and the black as negative. I guess it would be around about right with this thing, because it's actually written on the speaker, not that it makes any difference whatsoever for the operation. Just got to be a little bit careful not to put the soldering iron anywhere on the case. Now I think this speaker has to be turned around for this little fella to go in. Temporarily put his nut on, because it'll probably have to come off. Now down here on the speaker, we'll put our little piece of tape along there so that nothing shorts out. I'm going to use a little bit of insulation tape, which I'm going to cut. Okie doke. Sit him down in there. Now this headphone socket. Moved around like so. It's a very neat fit, this fella. Someone else has had a go at this. I'm just going to take this back out because there's a glob of solder here. It really shouldn't be there. I don't know what that's doing there. And this, gee whiz, whoever did this bit of soldering is pretty hair going. I'll get rid of this blob of solder here, give you guys a bit closer look at this. And this is, yeah, what not to do when you're soldering, especially with this space is a premium, and we don't need big blobs of solder obstructing this. Okay, we still have more wire on here. This might help if I put the mic on. Look at that. A big chunk of wire there. Totally unnecessary. Now these fellas, I think I'm just going to cut them and re-tin them and do something a little bit nicer. What I've done is I've actually cut a longer piece of blue wire. The other piece was just too short, so I'll just tin this fella and solder him back on, and then that'll give us a bit more scope to put this fella on. It looks a fair bit better than what it did. Right. Okay, we'll tuck some wires down in there. Got to tuck this fellow back in a little bit so that he all goes in there. Right, that's how he goes in. Now, well, yes, he wants to go in, all right. Doesn't want to come out. Right, now we'll put this speaker wire on. Righto, guys. Just soldered him up. I've pushed him past the little earphone socket in there, and nothing appears to be touching. It's microsurgery, this thing. So now I think it's time for the 2 screws. Needs to be pushed up slightly, but yeah, these little fellas, spot on. Yes, he went in. Okay, the other fella. I think we'll pause the video while I get this fella in. Oh boy, I'm glad I didn't keep recording that, otherwise you'd have heard words coming out of me that was very nasty. That bloody thing there. It's taken me about 15 minutes to get that one tiny little screw in. Don't know why, it just didn't want to line up. Now, what we do now is we put our volume control knob, our pot, and it doesn't matter which way this goes on because we haven't got the lid on him at the moment. So we'll put him on like this. So there's no indent. There's a little piece broken out of him, which you can probably see there. Just trying to get it so you guys can see what's going on here. And he's nice and tight, a little bit different to what he was. It's a terrible shame that there's just a little piece broken there. I don't know whether it's broken or someone's put some sort of glue there, which we'll clean up in a minute. And it's eaten the edge of it off. I don't know. Okay, same with this fella. All good. And they're all nice and tight. Right, double check. Throw our supply on. And of course, the light and everything else, the camera and everything is interfering with him. So we'll put him on battery shortly. So now we're going to put these fellas on. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get the contact glue off these, but then I'm just going to put a tiny little blob of Celastic just towards the center. So it, 2 reasons, holds it on gently so that you can get it off again, and it stops the screw from coming loose with vibration and so forth. Okay, we'll clean these up now. Now let's put a little bit of elastic just around the centre. So we turn the dial to suit, which we can turn him anyway. There we are. We'll just turn him just that fraction more. There, that looks pretty good. Just a little bit, a little dab on either side. And he's off. So we go up like so. Now off is now positioned there. Right, now we'll put a battery in him, make sure he still goes. Then we'll have a quick look at a little bit of alignment, not full details, but yeah, we'll just check him out. I think it'll be pretty close because the actual paint on the IF cans has not been touched at all, as you can see. So yeah, not going to do too much with him. He seems to perform extremely well. So I think once I get him out of the workshop, he'll perform very well. Got a battery? Not one of those other ones, those gold, black and gold things. I've got a battery that doesn't leak. So can he fit in here? Yes. I'm going to do that fella up real tight. That's probably tight enough. Let's turn the light off and see how we go. Where? Now, there you go. That's a little bit better. And we...
And all the characters involved, and you just want to become part of the family. It's a primary. It's a book. And with what goes on these days, everyone just started identifying as Indigenous and has problem solved.
And yeah, there's a whole new ball game with that. We're not going anywhere with that. Okay, so I think he's all sealed in there pretty well. I am not going to touch the IFs. It appears to be working quite well. We'll take him outside, give him a test, and really, I think this wraps him up. So there he is, a little Imperial Micro 7 transistor radio, and he goes quite well considering where we are at the moment. And we've got
on the mountains and you're heading towards Sydney, you're in trouble. You may want to consider the Bells Line of Road or some other way to get into town, or just delay it by an hour or two if you can. Steve in Parks, g'day. Yeah, g'day.
Yeah, so there we go. The case probably needs a little bit of a clean. This fella comes out the top so that when we do him up, we've got a handy little little fella to carry around. So there he is, everyone, an Imperial micro radio. We'll give this a bit of a scrub up to make him look nice, but there's the radio. Okay, we'll take him outside, give him a test, and we'll wrap this one up. Well, guys, that about wraps it up for this little rebuild of the Imperial Micro 7 transistor radio. I've taken him outside, works like a dream. The sensitivity is incredible, selectivity spot on. It is, yeah, it's magic. I did manage to get in and touch the aerial trimmer up just a little bit. Actually, it made quite a difference. At 1400, we just tweaked him up so that he was peaked. Well, it was about 1450 on this little fella. So, yeah, we did that, and the station's incredible. Haven't worried about putting the signal gen on this. Not worth it. So we just did an audio alignment with more or less the aerial trimmer. The rod antenna, the wax had it pretty well in situ. It wasn't moving on the rod, so I assumed that the peak of in around 500 kilohertz, 600k would be around about right with the coil on the rod. So that's it. I have cleaned up the inside of the case, if you want to see. The case is in very good condition, actually. Very good. We got his little Hong Cordial, a little label there, put back on. Sideways, yes, he's all put back together. It all come up very, very nicely. So
535 100.
And yes, he works extremely well. Okay, guys, until the next one, which will be something fairly different again, and no idea what's wrong. But pause this, I'll grab it, I'll give you a sneak peek for the next video, which will probably be next Sunday. Depends on how long it takes us to get through it. So I'll grab him and let's have a sneak peek at what's next in line. Okay, well, this is the next project. A very nice Eddystone receiver. What a beautiful piece of gear this thing is. Look at that. That is just superb. Now, I was told by the owner that there is a problem with it. I have no idea what the problem is, but this is the next project for this week. So, guys, keep an eye out for this one. Could be very interesting. No, I've never seen inside one. Could be a very interesting project indeed. So I know none of the history of it. I don't know how old it is, but possibly early 60s, mid 60s. But anyway, that's the next project. Okay, and so until next time, please remember to subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and click the bell if you want to be notified when our next video comes out. Okay, guys, we'll catch you later. Bye for now.